want to fend for myself, and I want to build people up for them to fend for themselves. Hey everybody, Clark Fredericks here. Another exciting episode of the Free Like Me podcast. Guests come on, speak their truth, and leave free like me. There is power in being transparent, not holding that shame in that just ruins our lives, letting it out and growing from it. And that's what I'm here to do, to help my guests to grow, and they're here to help all of you grow. So please tune in each Tuesday at 7 a.m. Subscribe to either YouTube or Spotify, Free Like Me podcast. And this week, we have Brad Hodgins, a buddy of mine from back in the day of gambling and drinking. But like most of us, he had his secrets, I had my secrets, and his life was a little worse than I thought. And he's going to share his alcoholic disaster early on and overcoming and thriving and becoming a new person. Let's hear it. Brad!
Hey, what's up, buddy?
Hey, pal. So like I just said, back in the day, I don't know when I say back in the day, it's got to be around 2000, I would think.
Yeah.
Somewhere around there.
Yeah.
I think we met at a bar, the
Of
Fountain
course.
House.
Where else?
Where else would we?
Makes a lot of sense.
And, we were taking Atlantic City trips a lot and Foxwood trips and just like everyone in our little circle back then, just like, I don't think we were trying to outdrink the other person, but we were all drinking like
Fish.
Soggy Foot, Ed, me, you, Little Pete.
Right.
Everybody was like hitting it hard.
And that was back when it was still fun.
Yeah. None of our lives had collapsed yet.
Exactly.
And it was just like pushing it. And we all liked to just go as hard as we could.
That's what it was all about back then.
Yeah, and we're not thinking there's a problem with any one of us, but as time went on, I think every one of us had a problem.
Well, I knew I was an alcoholic.
You did,
Oh yeah.
back then.
Even back then, I knew I was an alcoholic. I just didn't want to do anything about it. I just accepted it as a fact. I mean,
It is what it is.
my father drank alcoholically. I never knew my grandfather on my father's side, but I'm sure the stories I hear, he was a big Scotch man himself. So, it doesn't surprise me.
So you grew up in that area, Sussex County?
I grew up in Newton, yeah.
Newton.
Yeah, I was born and raised.
And what was your family life like? Your dad was a drinker?
He drank alcoholically.
Alcoholically?
Yes.
Yeah.
And he would, come home drunk. And of course, 9 times out of 10, I did something wrong that day. And in his eyes, I deserved a beating.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
See, I knew your dad. Like
Right.
he would come. Back then, I was in the tire automotive industry.
Yeah.
He would come and get tires. Your mom would come and get tires, oil changes. Seemed like a great dude, and he would stop at the bar sometimes,
Right.
Yeah.
No, he was a great dude. But,
Yeah.
He liked, he thought that if you spare the rod, you spoil the child.
But straight out of the Old Testament.
Exactly.
Hey.
Exactly.
Wow. You would describe him as an alcoholic?
Yeah.
And then probably his father.
Yeah.
So it's in your history.
It's in the history, yeah.
Really?
Definitely.
And when did you start drinking?
I took my first drink at 11, but that wasn't the first time I ever had alcohol. I mean, in in an Irish Protestant family, alcohol is like medicine.
Right.
So if the baby's teething, you rub their gums with whiskey. When I was a young kid and we got a head cold, my father would make a mixture of rock and rye and hot tea and have us drink it.
I would have
to clear our head.
When I was sick as a kid, I would get hot scotch or whiskey with honey in it.
Right.
Just here, do this shot, and oh boy, did I feel
Yeah,
better.
you did feel better. That's for sure.
I wanted to be sick every week.
Exactly.
And you had the same thing going on.
Same experience, yes.
So we're not counting that as drinking, though.
No, but I took my first drink at the age of 11.
And what was that instance?
We smuggled some 16-ounce Schmitz beers up into the bedroom of my friend when we were having a family party together and just started drinking. And, right away, I didn't have just one. I had to keep drinking until there was nothing left in that cooler. That's just the way it was from the go.
Well, you're a big dude. Were you a big kid back then?
I was always a big kid.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I had a huge growth spurt between like 6th and 7th grade. So by the time I was in 7th grade, I was 6'4" and about 250, 260 pounds.
In 7th grade?
In 7th grade.
Wow.
I know.
That's a big dude.
Yeah. And I felt uncomfortable, being that big and just standing
That
out,
size. Yeah.
It just, I didn't like it.
Yeah. And it just fueled your insecurities.
Oh, exactly.
Because, when we're younger, like as you get older and you want to develop, your own road to travel down, it's cool. But when you're younger, you just want to fit in with everybody else.
Exactly.
And so, I had open heart surgery scar. That made me feel different from everybody else. You have this huge growth spurt. That made you feel different from everybody else.
Right.
And insecurities build up. And then,
Then we find the magic elixir. The magic elixir that is alcohol.
The magic that fixes everything.
Exactly.
Until it doesn't.
Well, I felt when I took a drink, I felt like this is how normal people must feel all the time, and I just need a little drink to get me to be normal like everybody else, to not be so insecure, not be so uncomfortable in my own skin.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm hearing that over and over and over from my guests.
Right.
Like they all say that.
Yeah.
And that's like I did Coke and I'm like, wow, I feel great. It took all those insecurities and just flushed them down the toilet.
I remember those days as well.
Whoa, Coke.
Oh, yeah. Coke, crack. I mean, I was a garbage head.
Whatever, huh?
As long as I drew the line, thank God, at injecting anything into my veins.
Right.
And I never got into heroin, but anything else, it was
free game.
Oh, it was all good.
Wow.
And if you were having 2, I needed 4.
Right. And it's funny, like back when we were partying together, we weren't sharing any like drugs or anything. We didn't know that
Well,
side.
they were my drugs, not yours.
Right, and mine were mine. I wasn't going to let you have any.
Exactly. I only had a limited amount of Percocets in my pocket at any one time, so you weren't getting any of them.
Right.
I needed them.
Just to feel normal.
Exactly.
Right. I gotcha. So as you so you have that first drink around 11,
Right.
where you actually was drinking, not just for a cold or something.
Right.
And then how did it go? Like 7th grade on, when you had this big growth spurt.
Well, by the time I was 12, I was buying my own alcohol.
Really?
I had a paper route, and I would drive my bike out to the Johnsonburg liquor store. And if you were, big enough or had the balls enough to walk in there with the cash, he would sell it to you. And I'd get some beer, some blackberry brandy, which I loved at the time, and some Garcia Vega cigars, and go find the Layton boys and go do some fishing.
This is at 12.
At 12.
Wow.
Drinking, smoking cigars.
Right.
Like normal 12-year-olds.
Well, and getting served
Right.
also.
Exactly.
You had that place. I had the place in Newton back in the day, McKeeby's
Right.
liquor store. And he would make you sign a book that you were declaring you were of legal age. And I'm like, that's it? Yeah, sign my book stating you're of legal. I'm like, I'll sign all you want.
Anything you want.
Yeah, I'm just like, and that was it. And
There you go.
they would serve me.
Well, it was a long time ago, though. Things have changed a lot.
Right. And people don't realize that. How old are you now?
I'm 56 and I'm 55 now.
So we're basically the same, right around the same age. And,
Right.
and like I always say, like people don't understand nowadays how it was to grow up as a kid. Like, so as soon as you learned to ride your bicycle, were you told to be gone?
Oh yeah.
And you're, like whatever age it is, 6, 7, 8.
No, we were going out hell raising all day until, it got time for dinner.
That's exactly it. Nobody wanted you around the house.
No.
There was no video games and there was no computers or cell phones to
Right.
play on all day. It was get the hell out.
Get the hell out of here
and
go-
see you at dinner
go
time.
have fun.
Right.
Right. See you at dinner.
And that's how it was for you too.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, exactly. So as you, as you go into high school, does drinking pick up for you?
Yeah, oh yeah. Drinking, and I started smoking weed, I lived within walking. I mean, I lived right close to the high school, so I could go home at lunch, and I would regularly have a liquid lunch and then go back to high school drunk.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Go home, hit your father's cabinet,
Of course.
and then just go back to school.
At that point in time, he didn't care. It was all, he knew we were in there.
Oh yeah?
Oh yeah. We had a separate refrigerator downstairs that was always full of beer, and my brother and I would drink it, and my father would just restock it.
Really?
Oh yeah. He just accepted the fact at one point that we were drinkers just like him.
Right.
And we were either gonna get it somehow.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
And when you had this growth spurt, did the beatings he would
They ended. They ended.
I figured such.
Yeah.
Because now you could defend yourself.
And I did.
You had to, huh?
With him, yeah, oh, yeah. I remember the day, the first time, the only one time I ever hit him.
Oh, you did hit him?
Oh, yeah, I hit him. And he always had pens and a calculator in his shirt. And I happened to hit him right in the chest where his calculator was. And I knocked him down. He got back up. He reached in his pocket, and all he said to me was, "You broke my calculator." And he walked away. That was the last time he ever touched me.
Wow. He figured, well, if the kid can punch hard enough to break a calculator
and knock him down, that it was about time for him to stop physically abusing me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Huh. And you remember what age that was?
14,
probably
15, somewhere around there.
Starting high school,
Yeah.
freshman or so.
Like 8th grade, freshman. Probably more like 8th grade. Because I forget when it was. I think it was 6th grade. My brother and I started taking karate classes and learning how to fight.
Right.
And, it gave me a lot of confidence. I liked doing karate. I only lasted until I was about an orange belt, and then I quit. But, it gave me a little bit of discipline and taught me a little bit about fighting.
I remember if I recall right, your brother was a big dude too,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And would he hit him too?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He hit us both. But
until a certain age.
But because I was the oldest, I was supposed to know better. So I got a little extra.
Right.
Because we'd both get in trouble. But, and we both got beat with the belt.
You're allowed to drink.
Oh, yeah.
Which is just adding fuel to the fire.
Oh, yeah.
It's almost expected, in the Irish family, Protestant family.
Exactly.
And now we start smoking some weed in high school.
And doing some speed.
Oh,
white crosses.
Oh, you had those?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's pure ephedrine.
Uh-huh.
Man, I moved my buddy down south to North Carolina. We rented a U-Haul, packed him up, moved him down south, and me and another buddy went to one of the gas stations down there. And, my buddy was a big dude into weightlifting. And he's like, I hear him go, "No way." I'm like, "What's up?" He's like, "They got white crosses here." And I'm like, "What's that?" He goes, "Oh, it's pure ephedrine, man. It gets you so jacked up." He goes, "You pop a couple of these before your workout." He goes, "You'll be a maniac."
Yeah.
So I bought like bottles of it, and he bought bottles of it. And I had these white crosses that would just get you fired up.
Oh, yeah.
And
I didn't take them for lifted weights. I took them so I could drink longer. So I could not pass out. And just keep drinking.
Wait, did they sell them up in Jersey also? Because I found them down south.
No, I had a connection that I got them from.
And they would get them?
Yeah, they got them for me.
Well, I mean, ephedrine was the ingredient needed for making crystal meth or speed.
I always had money because I worked for my father. My father was building modular homes at the time, and he always needed help on job sites. So my brother and I would help out, and we get paid for it. So I always had the money to buy them.
Right. And this is in high school.
In high school, yeah.
And that would help you to drink longer.
Exactly.
Your true passion.
My true passion.
Wow. And did you use any other like heavier drugs in high school?
Not really in high school. There wasn't back then. It wasn't. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there was guys doing coke, but I never ran into those guys.
No, neither did I. I never.
It wasn't until college that I really found daily drinking and drugging, like
Bingo.
every day.
I feel like I'm looking in the mirror right now.
Because college was like a drugstore. I mean, you could get whatever you wanted,
Right.
And that's where I found coke and LSD. What were those purple microdots? Mescaline.
Mescaline.
Yep, mescaline and shrooms.
Shrooms. Yep.
Yep.
Where'd you go to school?
University of Maryland at College Park.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you were in college in the late '80s.
Yep.
I went in the mid '80s through the late '80s, and that was when cocaine was in its heyday.
Right.
So like I get into college and I've never tried coke, and somebody's like, "Hey, I got us invited to a cocaine party. You want to go?" I'm like, "Yeah, what the hell?
Why not? Sounds like fun."
So up all night talking about the most minuscule things for hours, and just felt great. And same thing with you, like as you just described, I tried mushrooms and LSD and just but drinking and doing coke were like my true passions.
Oh, there was always drinking. There was always drinking and
right. What else we were going to add
exactly.
to the mix?
What we're going to add to the to the magic elixir today to make it even better.
Did you get a degree? Did you stay for 4
years?
years?
I got a degree in criminal justice and graduated with a criminal record. 2 felonies. So there wasn't too many people that wanted a criminal justice major with 2 felonies on his record already.
I say that again. I got a degree in criminal justice and graduated with a criminal record. I love that.
There you go.
I'd make a great bumper sticker. And are we allowed to ask you what your felonies were, sir?
Yeah, I got into a little trouble with some hookers down in Washington D.C.
Okay,
locked up for the weekend, and apparently, getting a BJ was a felony in Washington D.C.
Really,
and the jails in D.C. are run by the U.S. Marshals, so you don't want to end up in a jail in Washington D.C.
Wow,
Let me tell you that.
A little different than the regular.
And then I got popped for felony possession of marijuana.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. And that sort of pretty much did in your criminal justice career.
Pretty much.
So that degree turned out to be useless after that.
No, well, I actually went to law school, but never finished. I got mono and dropped out of my first semester and never went back.
Huh.
Yeah, I moved to, I had a friend that I knew that I had met during the summer when I used to go down to the Florida Keys and live down there at my father's condo. And I met a tennis pro down there, and I moved in with her in Coral Gables and started tending bar on South Beach, Miami. It was about 1991, I think it was. And that was a lot of fun. You want to talk about coke?
Right.
We did a lot of coke.
My buddy went to the University of Miami and ended up in rehab for cocaine.
There you go.
Never graduated. Yeah, same thing. It was everywhere.
Oh, it was everywhere. And I was making tons of money as a bartender in South Beach, Miami. I mean, the tips were phenomenal. That could be the most money I've ever made in my life during that time.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I remember one night we did a private party at the bar, and I walked out of there with $1,200 cash in one night. And of course, that was snorted right up my nose in about 3 days. I don't think I slept for 4.
Really? Did you ever tell yourself that first time you stayed up all night doing coke? Oh, I will never, ever, ever do that again.
No.
No, you just took it in.
No, I just said, yeah, that's the
price.
When can
I got
we do
to
that again? When can we do that again? That was my attitude then, and I was able to kick that, but still, kept up with the drinking.
Yeah, so the Coke wasn't like your passion.
No, my passion was always alcohol.
Drinking.
Yeah.
Right. So you come back up to Jersey?
Yeah, I moved around. I moved around the Southeast for about the next 5 or 6 years. Just I never owned any more than I could fit in whatever vehicle I was driving at the time, because inevitably I'd have to go. I wore out my welcome everywhere I went. I took me with me, as they like to say, and had all these geographical changes, but it always stayed the same. Either the drug dealer was looking for me, or a bookie, or somebody, and it was time for me to go.
Huh, when I met you, I thought you were a straight-laced guy.
I appeared to be.
Yeah, just like, he likes to drink a lot. That's about it.
Yeah, well, I did like to drink a lot.
I mean, we must have met like probably
it was late 90s, early 2000s.
Mid-20s, somewhere, pushing 30.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so we meet in the bar of the Fountain House.
Yeah.
And it's just it would be like most nights during the week after work.
Oh yeah.
In the bar,
Every
weekends
night.
Of course. Maybe take Sundays off to do whatever. But I'd say probably 5-6 nights a week we're in that bar.
Oh yeah.
And just,
And I never took a day off.
No, I'm drinking on Sunday too,
exactly.
Just not in the bar.
Just not in the bar.
Right. I start gambling heavy, and you and I are going down to AC and Foxwoods, and just degenerates, like just one vice after another. And we started sports betting, with unsavory characters, and and that didn't turn out well.
No, I don't bet anymore.
No,
No
stopped.
gambling.
Yeah, me neither.
No gambling. The house always wins.
Yeah, exactly. So we sort of like when after the whole sports betting thing came to an end, I stopped going to that bar.
Right.
And we sort of, we'd from time to time run into each other here or there.
Right.
But things sort of, just split after that, and that group sort of broke up, somewhat.
Right.
But we had quite a few years of just like, like I said, 5-6 nights a week in that bar
Serious
every
drinking.
night.
Right.
Yeah. So what was your life? Where did things go after I lost track of you?
Well,
you've always that I've known you back then and up till now. You've always worked in like the construction material industry,
right? Building
selling materials,
right?
And so you're doing that.
Yep, doing that.
And then where's your life go?
I ended up getting married, and I think that the woman that I married, I think, was still in love with the boy she knew from high school, because we had dated in high school. So I got her to marry me real quickly, and then I got her pregnant.
I knew you had a daughter. I never knew you
girl.
were married, though. To be honest, that's the first time knowing that. Right. So you did get married.
Did get married, and then we had my daughter, and I'd like to tell you that I, got sober for her and all that stuff, but that wasn't my story, because I could not stop drinking. I tried without a program to quit drinking, and I think at one point in time I had 8 months. And my wife, who's now my ex-wife, actually said to me, "Brad, you might as well just start drinking again, because you're more miserable now than when you were drinking."
Really?
Yeah. That's how bad it was. Because I had no solution. I quit drinking, and
What made you stop?
she wanted me to stop. Other people wanted me to stop.
Are you doing any self-analysis, saying, "Nah, whatever," right?
No, I didn't. I wasn't going to go to meetings. I wasn't going to do any of that stuff. I was just going to do it on my own. I could do it. I can do it. Me.
Right.
One of those things, and it never worked.
Nah, I tell almost every guest that comes in with addiction issues, like the state trooper that arrested me, he's like, "Did you have an exit strategy when you were using all the drugs and alcohol?" And I'm like, "Nah, bro."
No.
Same thing for you. It's just like, it is what it is. You know the wave is going to crash at some time, but you're hoping it's a long, slow wave to the shore.
Well, and then at one point I just knew that it was just, it was untenable. I mean, I just couldn't keep going the way I was going.
So take me into like a day in the life back then. Like you're waking up. Are you starting to
drink first thing I do.
First thing in the morning.
Before I even go take a piss, I'm mixing up a drink.
What a vodka drink?
Vodka and Gatorade.
Vodka Gatorade.
90% vodka, 10% Gatorade.
Just
enough to color it.
and just to like, cause you feel like crap. And
because I'd be shaking and sweating, and I needed to have a drink. Sometimes I would wake up in the middle of the night and have to drink myself back to sleep.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Huh. Just get up, go guzzle a bottle of vodka. Or,
of course. Vodka was my drug of choice.
Yeah. And is it interfering with your job at all?
Oh, yeah.
Did you get fired from
I didn't
jobs?
get fired. I ended up leaving, before they fired me. I left, basically, is what happened. Because I think I could see the writing on the wall. In fact, I remember one morning, I was at the front counter for some reason with the president was right there. And afterwards, after this guy had left, he said to me, "You reek of alcohol."
Really?
I just didn't say a word, went back to my office.
You didn't even try to say like, that was a rough night. And then I went out with the boys.
No.
Just whatever.
Didn't even want to talk about it.
Just walked away.
So
if you're starting your morning off with a Gatorade vodka, then how's the rest of the day going?
Oh, it's just vodka fueled. I mean, I never had water in my water bottle. It was vodka.
It was. Put vodka in there.
I did go to my daughter's soccer games or whatever. I'd be drinking vodka
with a bottle of water.
Oh yeah,
and it's vodka.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Right on the sidelines while my kid's playing.
Right. And how's your so then you're by the time you're getting home to your wife, you're half crocked up.
Oh, of course. No, it was not.
It was just
she didn't want
quickly the
she
relationship
didn't want to live that way
soured.
Anymore. Right.
How long were you married?
I think it was about 4 years.
4 years.
Yeah. 4 or 5 maybe.
And the demise is all alcohol related.
Oh, all alcohol related.
Did she drink?
Sparingly. She liked her wine. I was not a wine drinker. Wine did not work fast enough for me.
Right.
I would drink it if I had to. If there was nothing else, guzzle a bottle of wine. But I'd rather have vodka.
And it's got to be, I mean, putting yourself in her shoes, that's got to be tough.
Oh, yeah.
I'd have a lot of women over the years who, would meet me in bars and stuff and be like, oh, he's, fun and wild and crazy. But then when it's fun and wild and crazy every single day,
exactly.
It's not so fun anymore.
It's not so fun anymore.
That's
basically what happened.
Yeah, that's how it.
She kicked me out, and I went to go live with my mother and put her through hell for about 4 years, till I finally figured out that I needed to get sober.
Really? All right, so the marriage dissolves.
The marriage dissolves. I move in with my mother, and my drinking just, skyrockets.
Escalate. Now you. I've got a reason to drink. My marriage ended.
Exactly. Oh yeah, pity. My pity party, and oh poor me. Poor me.
So how could it escalate even more?
Well, I started stealing Percocets and Oxycontins from my father. He had all kinds of issues, and he was taking all kinds of pain pills, and this was back before, the opioid crisis, where now you can't even get any opioids.
Right.
My daughter just had her wisdom teeth out, and they didn't give her anything. I'm like, what? They didn't give you anything good?
Right.
Not even Vicodin?
Right. Nothing, huh?
Nothing.
Yeah.
No.
That wasn't how it was back in the day.
No, back in the day, I could, fake a back injury and walk out of the place with Percocets, with a prescription for Percocet. Which I used to do.
Yeah, well, I mean, being in the tire automotive industry, I killed my back, beating on truck tires and loader tires, and I went to a doctor, and he's like, here's 30 Vicodin.
There you go.
And I took, and they were only 750s, but when you've never had one, and it's the first time in your life you're trying them, I felt like Superman.
Yeah, tastes like more.
Yeah. So I went through those 30 and, however many couple of days, and I called him back up. I'm like, Doc, these things work wonders. I feel like I'm 17 again. I feel great. And he's like, you're done with those already? I'm like, yeah, I need more. He's like, that was too fast. I'll prescribe 10 more. That's it. And I'm like, 10 more?
They'll be gone in 2 days.
That is not acceptable to me.
Right.
So, and you're in the same boat with him.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And, I was hitting up my psychiatrist for Xanax, so, and I'd be snorting that.
Snorting your Xannies?
Oh, yeah.
Snorting your pain pills, too?
No, chewing.
Chewing them?
Yeah, I chewed the pain pills, snorted the Xannies. I don't know why, but that was just my routine.
Because waiting for them to dissolve just takes too long.
No, that just takes too long.
So you're chewing pain pills, you're snorting Xannies, and you're drinking like a friggin' fish.
2 liters of vodka a day, about.
2 liters of vodka a day, so people know.
Yep.
And maybe some beers on top.
No, I was not really
a beer guy.
I'm not really a beer guy. It was just I couldn't. The more I pounded them, the more full I felt. And I needed more of. I need more alcohol, so I just switched to mixed drinks and mostly vodka.
And 2 liters a day.
Yeah,
that's a good amount.
Yeah, it was a good amount.
Plus some drugs on top.
Yeah, plus Percocets and Xanax on top of it. And like I told you, there was many mornings that I woke up and thought, really? Like I didn't drink enough vodka and chew up enough Percocets and snort enough Xanax not to wake up this morning?
Right.
That's where my disease took me.
Did you care about living or dying?
Not at that point. And then, I had a moment of clarity from my higher power, who I choose to call God, and decided that I was going to try, a program of recovery.
Now, up to that point, the only other time of like quitting was that 8-month span when you got married.
Yeah,
that was it.
Yeah.
Since 7th grade.
Yeah, since probably freshman year in college, I'd been a daily drinking and drugging, up to that. And then there was that 8 months, and then right
just
back
on a tear.
Yeah, then it just got even worse.
I mean, you had to be waking up feeling like shit.
Oh yeah, well that's why I had to drink right away.
Right, they got to get that one in you, just
right. 1 or 2 or 3.
And are you having any self-analysis over those years, like? Where's this head? What am I doing? Like, is this going to be my life?
I didn't care.
You're on that merry-go-round and just whatever. Didn't care.
I did not care.
Yeah. I mean, that's how it catches all of us.
Right.
It starts off fun with your buddies, and then it just progresses to...
And in the end, by 11 a.m., I was so drunk I could barely speak.
11 a.m.
Oh, yeah.
Every day.
Oh, yeah. That's when, I was just completely unemployable. I had been fired from my last job. And that's that's probably being fired there and realizing that I couldn't, function without alcohol got me to go into a program of recovery at that point in time.
Did you do rehab?
No, and I don't recommend this to anybody. But no, I didn't do a detox. I didn't do a rehab. I just stone cold turkey quit. Which is not health. I mean, you could die. Right. You could die from the alcohol.
Benzo withdrawal or from alcohol withdrawal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't recommend that to anybody. I survived.
So when I was locked up, the worst, all right, you would think like, the jail was just filled with heroin addicts. And they would be miserable. But the worst of the worst withdrawals were the dudes who were heavy drinkers. Like they couldn't walk. Their bodies just convulsing and shaking. Oh, yeah. And I'm saying,
couldn't sleep.
Yeah, I'm saying to the nurses and the guards, I'm like, what's this guy doing on the tier? He just shit himself and he can't walk to the bathroom. And they're like, I'm like, you should have him in a medical hold until he's fit to be on the tier.
Right.
But the jail was so full back then, they just were processing them and putting them on general population. It was,
what do they care?
Yeah, they didn't care, So you without that drink, you would be in that same condition.
Oh yeah.
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 Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, it was bad.
and you had a moment of clarity.
Yes.
And what brought that on?
I think it was the unemployment,
So you're
realizing that I was unemployable, and that
by
it was at the
11,
point where-
I'm shot for the day.
exactly,
And
I got to do something.
And did you wake up, or was it during the day one day where you just like,
It was during the day one day, and then I did a little research and, found a meeting, and I went to my first meeting drunk. And I went to my first meeting in 2008, and I didn't get sober until 2012. So I was in and out. I'd collect the 98 pins here and there, and then and inevitably, I would go back out again. And when I first came into the rooms, and they started talking about God and amends and prayer and meditation, I'm thinking, what in the holy hell does any of this have to do with me not drinking? Right. I didn't get it.
Right.
I didn't get that drinking was merely a symptom, and my diseased mind was the problem.
Right. Mind, body, soul. You're sick.
I was that definitely sick. I was of the hopeless variety, as they say.
So you quit that first time where you had a moment of clarity, like, all right, I gotta change.
Well, I really,
and
it took me 4 years to surrender.
Right.
Completely.
But so what did you do that first time when you said you went to your first meeting.
I got
drunk,
a sponsor.
So
I got a sponsor at that meeting.
That meeting where you went drunk.
And we started going through the steps.
Did he ask you, like, are you drunk right now?
No, he knew.
Right.
He knew.
You're reeking of booze. Your eyes are red.
Exactly.
You're
I mean,
slurring.
he was the guy's an alcoholic. He knows. He knows what.
And what was it like walking into that meeting? Like, how did you let yourself be vulnerable like that? You're just so broken.
Right. I was just broken. I mean, I had, and one of the reasons why I didn't go to rehab or detox was the last company that I had worked for was in Canada. And so if you work for a company that's out of this country, you don't get any benefits. There's no COBRA, there's no unemployment benefits, there's nothing. So, I really could afford to go to rehab.
Right.
Right.
So you get a sponsor that first meeting.
Yeah, and I remember we were kneeling down in his living room, saying the third step prayer, and I'm praying to a God I don't believe in, and I'm like, this is nuts. And I left there and went right out and had a drink.
So I get a lot of people, atheists, that have heard my podcasts, not this one necessarily, but right. Other ones that I've done where I've told my story of abuse, and they'll be like, that's exactly why I believe there's no God. Like, what happened to you? And it's, and then I had to, I have to go into the whole free will, and exactly. Somebody can use it for good or evil, and it's not that. Otherwise, if God's like intercepting the plane that's going to crash, or the murder that's going to happen, or the childhood sexual abuse, then why are we even alive? We're just his little play toys,
right? We're
so
on a wheel.
Yeah, so it's just there has to be free will,
yeah,
and good shit or bad shit can happen to us.
Yes, it does.
And that's. Once I finally got told that, when I went as an altar boy to the Episcopal Church, it was God's a sovereign God, and you do good things will happen. You step out of line, you incur God's wrath. And it's just like, and then when you're getting raped by a grown man, it's like, yeah, that whole God thing did nothing for me.
Where was God then? Yeah.
Right. So, like, what could I have done so bad?
He was allowing that to happen, right?
But that's how they made it sound back then. And then, of course. So you had no faith whatsoever.
I was more agnostic, I would say.
Right.
That I really didn't know, but if there was a God, he really didn't seem to be taking too much interest in me. So, to hell with him.
Right. And I went through life angry at God. I'm like, whatever, dude. After you get raped by a grown man, it's tough to sit in church and pray,
right,
and be like, "Oh, my Heavenly Father, thank you for all that I have in my life." Right. It didn't work back then. So I went through the life the same way, pretty much, just like whatever. So this guy's trying to get you to pray, and you're like, "This just ain't working, bro.
This ain't working." I just wasn't ready to surrender.
And you weren't ready to surrender.
No, I had to be beaten down a little more. And then I took my last drink on February 6th of 2011 was the last time that I drank. It was Super Bowl Sunday when the Green Bay Packers beat the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I was I was going to drink every drop of vodka that I had in the house. So, there was some under the sink. There was some under the sink in my bedroom. There was some out in the garage. There was some up in the closet. I had it all over the place, just in case.
Right.
And I drank it all, and then went to an AA meeting the next day.
And why did you surrender then?
I really had nothing. I had nowhere else to go. There was no other way than for me to, walk into a meeting and surrender.
And just be like, I don't know how to live anymore.
No, I don't. I didn't know how to live without alcohol anymore. It was that horrible place that they talk about where you can't live with it, but you can't live without it. It's just, it was terrible.
So for that 4-year span from when you first walked into a meeting until that Super Bowl.
That was about 3 years.
3 years.
Uh-huh.
So I
was bouncing
in and out,
yeah,
sober, not sober.
Exactly.
The whole praying thing, you just weren't digging.
Just wasn't getting it. I just wasn't getting that part of it.
Would you tell your sponsor, like, I just don't understand?
No, I didn't tell him anything. I just stopped calling him.
Oh, that was it. That was it.
Yeah, and he wasn't going to call me. He wasn't going to chase me around.
All right. So you just sporadically going to meetings here and there over those years.
Exactly. Sometimes, like I said, sometimes quitting for 90 days and then I'd fall off the wagon and, think this is crazy again. This is going to work. I'm so different that this is not going to work for me. I remember the first time I went in and these guys were talking about all these years they had of not drinking. I'm thinking there's no way. There's no way that these guys could have drank like me and now have not drank, had a drink for 15 years or 25 years or whatever. I can't go 25 minutes.
Right. They had to be a different,
right.
They had to be a calm version of what
they couldn't have been as crazy as me.
Right.
Which I was soon to find out I was very wrong.
Right. Everybody starts sharing their crap.
Exactly.
And all of a sudden now, the curtain's removed and you can see Oz inside of each other, one of us. So you drink every drop of vodka, Super Bowl.
Yep.
And you decide the next day I'm going
done.
To a meeting. I'm
Yep.
done.
I'm done.
You said to yourself, I'm done.
I'm done. And I'm done. And I'm going to do whatever these people tell me to do. I'm finished with me. I need somebody to help me. I need a lot of people to help me learn how to get sober and stay sober.
Because you thought you could do it.
I thought I could do it on my own.
Like, I'm strong. I'm a big,
Exactly.
6'5", 300-pound dude. I'm strong. I can handle anything. I can do it on my own.
Yes.
And yet,
nothing.
the addiction
Never
made you a little weakling.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
I'm like, I thought when I was doing my drugs and everything, I'm like, nothing's gonna control me. I'm super. I can handle. I'll do it on my own terms when I want, and then that just flies out the window. And
don't work.
And you got a monkey on your back, as they say, and you're a slave to things. And I tell people I never want to be a slave again, man.
Exactly.
I was a slave to substances.
The greatest thing that I have today is a choice. I can choose today whether I'm going to drink or drug or whether I'm not. And today I choose not. Today. Just for today.
Let's get through today first.
Exactly. One day at a time.
Wow.
I'm a big believer in that. One day at a time.
So when you went back after that Super Bowl and you were like, all right, I'll try the whole praying thing. I'll try the whole God, the higher power thing. Mm-hmm. Whatever, whatever it takes. If that's worked for these other dudes, then I'll give it a shot. Yeah. That was your mindset?
That was my mindset. And I wasn't one of those people where the obsession was just immediately lifted. It was about 6 months of, sitting on my hands and sweating and, wanting to drink and shaking and wanting to drink until finally I remember I was doing a prayer in my car, and I walked out and went inside my house, and I was brushing my teeth because I had to go out for something that night, and I realized I didn't want to drive down to the liquor store and buy a case of vodka, and that was like the first miracle for me. Was when the obsession to drink was lifted, and you know. I'd like to say that I stayed sober that time, but I didn't. Like I said, I took my last drink in 2011, but my sober date is actually June 1st, 2012, because after about 18 months, I'd gone through my father passing away and not drinking, and I thought I got this. I got this. I don't need to call my sponsor every day. I don't need to go to so many meetings. And I was at. I went to a golf outing, and after the golf outing, it was actually at Ed's house, and I was in the bathroom, and I looked up on the shelf, and there was a big bottle of Percocet sitting there, and I just grabbed up 6 and chewed them right up, and that was like May 31st of 2012. So my sobriety date now is June 1st, 2012.
So you didn't drink that day with those?
I didn't drink that day,
but you
but
took a handful.
I took a handful of Percocets.
A handful of perks.
Yeah.
And what was your mindset?
That's what people had asked me. Like, did you think about calling your sponsor? In fact, I went to a meeting and said I was coming back again. And this buddy of mine, Herb, pulled me aside, and he was like, what were you thinking? Did you think about calling your sponsor, or calling your network of people? And I was like, no, I wasn't thinking. I was thinking, boy, those things look good. I remember how they used to make me feel, and I want to get that feeling right again, right now.
Right.
And so that's what I did. But I think that everything happens for a reason, because the one thing Herb also told me was, well, do you have a network of people that you talk to? I was like, no. And he's like, well, when you go to a meeting and they pass around the meeting book and there's guys writing their numbers on the back, you're actually supposed to call some of those guys and, get a network of, 3 or 4 alcoholics that you talk to every day. So that's what I did. And that's part of my routine now, is, I wake up and I make my calls. I call at least 4 other alcoholics every morning. And it reminds me that I'm an alcoholic and an addict, and I can't do this myself. I need other people to help me.
I've said, I've made posts about, your 5 core people in your life. Pick wisely.
Exactly.
Exactly. And so that's, I didn't even know, that was something they tell you in there. Yeah. Because, if you're trying to get sober and your 5 closest people are heavy drinkers, it's going to be tough.
Exactly. And, I didn't want to hang out in bars anymore. I mean, even though, like today, I can. But I have a friend of mine, Charlie, that tells me, if you go to the barber shop long enough, not many times, you're going to get a haircut.
Right. You're right.
So, I try not to hang out in bars. I mean, I can hang out in bars, and I do every once in a while, but it's not, on a regular basis.
Right. Yeah, when I got out of prison, a couple of buddies, who supported me while I was locked up with commissary money and, visits, they were my party people. We went out to dinners, we're dinner and bars, together.
Sure.
And it just made me uncomfortable, not uncomfortable like I was gonna go drink. It just made me uncomfortable, like being in a bar setting.
Right.
I just didn't feel it anymore.
Right.
Like, what you're saying.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, just like the luster was gone.
It was gone.
Yeah, and I just didn't want to be there. Like, and they're like, is it all right if we drink? I'm like, yeah, do your thing, and they would drink. But I just decided that I don't even want to be, part of that,
Right.
So just same thing, So yeah, you once you get over that hump, I think early on, your mind plays tricks with you, and then tells you can handle things,
Well, in the beginning, I couldn't go into bars. I didn't even want to drive past the liquor store that I used to buy my vodka at. I would take a circuitous route just so I didn't have to drive by that liquor store. And I could not, for the first 6 months, I couldn't step foot into my father's trailer because inevitably, whenever I went to go see my father, the first thing I did, no matter what time of day it was mix a drink. One for me and one for him.
Right.
You know? So I couldn't even, and at the time he was wheelchair bound, so I really didn't see him.
You didn't even want to go in
No,
to
I
see
didn't
him
want to go in to see him
because of that trigger.
Exactly.
All right.
I just couldn't handle it. Yeah.
All right. I got this cooking sherry I love to cook with, and you got to get it in a liquor store. I would make when I got out of prison, I made my mother go get it for me.
Right.
And then the first time I went in to buy it, I just felt like, man, people are going to see me walking out with these 2 big bottles. Be like, Fredericks failed miserably.
He's off the wagon now.
Yeah, so I stayed out of it, after prison for years, making my mother get it for me just to cook with,
Oh, yeah.
I just didn't want to. I just didn't want to, be in a liquor store or be seen in a liquor store. Either way you want to look at it, but
Yeah, I haven't been in a liquor store in 12 years.
awesome. That was probably your second home back in the day.
Oh yeah, it was. Like I said, I didn't buy just one bottle of vodka. I would buy, a box or case of vodka, 8 bottles at a time. Because, that would get me through maybe a week.
Maybe a week, right? Wow. That's frightening, isn't it?
It is frightening.
When you look back on it.
Oh my God. It's unbelievable. I can't believe
what
that
you
I
did
could,
to yourself.
what I did to myself, and that I could drink. 2 liters of vodka a day.
That's
crazy.
insane.
It's insanity. It was insanity. I was insane.
Wow. When you took those 6 pain pills, did you tell your sponsor the next day, or so you didn't hide it?
No,
You just let it.
No, I let it all out.
And
I
when
actually
you
told my ex-wife first,
really,
and she was like, "You got to call your sponsor."
you guys,
Yeah, I
were
have a
on
great
friendly
relationship.
terms?
Yes, I have a great relationship now with my ex-wife.
Good. Awesome.
Better than I did when we were married, as a matter of fact.
So you told her?
Oh yeah.
Really? What
Yeah.
made you do that?
I don't know. Who knows? I used to tell her everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she said, call your sponsor.
Yeah.
And so when you have a sponsor, so you said oh, I don't need to call him every day. If you don't call him every day, it's not like he's calling you.
No.
It's on
it's on me.
It's on you.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's the way
You got to want it.
You got to want it.
Not him forcing it on you, or else it's not going to work.
Oh, it's not going to work. Nobody could force me to do anything.
Right.
If I didn't want to do it, it wasn't getting done.
Right. So, all right. So you tell him, and you get a new sobriety date.
Yep, new sobriety date. Went through the steps again. Yeah, because there was some stuff that I had missed.
And the whole prayer thing took hold.
Oh yeah,
faith.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Now
Did you feel something internally?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. When that obsession was finally lifted, I felt something internally. I felt like my eyes had been opened to the fact that if God wasn't watching out for me, I would have been dead a long, long time ago.
Right.
Some of the things I did and the things I survived were just incredible.
So early on, when you started going to meetings, are you going like every day, or did you ever go twice a day?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
When I first got sober in 2011. When I finally surrendered, like I said, I was unemployable, so I didn't have a job. My father was basically supporting me, and I was going to at least one meeting a day. They tell you to do 90 and 90, but I don't know how many. There were some days I went to 3 meetings.
Really?
Because at that time, before the obsession was lifted, it seemed like that was the only time that I didn't want to drink, was when I was in a meeting. So I went to a lot of meetings.
Yeah, if you're doing one a day and then you got a 24-hour time span, that demon's sitting there on your shoulder saying, "Come on, bro.
Come on, let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go down to the liquor store."
So you're doing 2-3 a day even.
Yeah, definitely.
And you tell your father you're sober? You're getting sober?
Yeah.
Did he say he was proud of you? Did he say
he did?
anything?
He did. He did say he was proud of me. And
was he drinking right up till his last breath?
He was.
Yeah.
He was. And he had tried stopping, but he wasn't going to a program.
Right.
He had tried stopping and it just didn't work. And he drank until the day he died. Yeah.
Right. But he was proud of you for
Yeah, he was.
getting shit
He
under
was.
control.
He was proud of me. Even though he was still drinking, he was proud of me for getting my life under control because I mean, it was painfully obvious that that I was out of control.
Right.
Even to my father, who was a drinker.
Right.
You know,
When the alcoholic says you're out of control,
then you know.
Right. I showed up at one of my buddy's house 2 weeks before I got arrested, completely out of my cotton picking mind. And, he's my big party buddy. And he's like, dude, like, you're taking it to a whole nother level. Like, what is going on with you? And I'm like,
Yeah, that's right. I got this.
Yeah. 2 weeks later, I'm arrested. So,
Exactly.
But he called me out on it. But
That's what waits for us: jails, institutions, and death.
jails, institutions, and death.
If we go back out, that's what waits for me.
Yeah. Can you imagine how quickly things would spiral if you took another drink?
I know. I know that I wouldn't. Because like I said, there was never just one. That first drink would get me started, and then that ball would start rolling, and I'd be right back to where I was in no time. I'm convinced of it.
I was living after prison with my brother and my mother, and my brother dies. We put my mother into a retirement community, and I got to pack up the house and go through like every box in the house, under every book, and I'm like, man, like in my messed up state before I got arrested, who knows if I hid bags of coke, everywhere in the house and pills, and I'm like, oh, I just hope I don't find anything as I'm packing up the house, and this is, and I'm like 8 to 10 years or what? Oh, when did that happen? That was 10 years sober and clean. And I'm just like, man, I just don't want a bag of coke to fall at my feet and have that temptation, after 10 years, it's still there.
Oh, it's still there. That's why I still go to meetings. I continue to call my network, every morning. I pray and meditate.
Yeah, I was going to ask you what keeps you free nowadays, and that's so you wake up. What's your first thing you do when you wake up?
Make my calls.
Make your calls.
Yeah, I make my calls first. Then I pray. Then I meditate.
Oh.
Usually about somewhere between 10 and 20 minutes. It depends. I've been using guided meditation lately, the Calm app, and then I got some other. I actually see a hypnotherapist, and she makes some guided meditations for me as well.
Awesome.
So.
And exercise.
Yeah, every day. I was just at the gym this morning. Some days I don't go to the gym and I just walk with the dog or go hiking.
Can you imagine, like, how you used to wake up and a vodka and Gatorade to you're waking up and meditating and
That's right.
And praying and calling fellow alcoholics every day?
I never would have thought, and they talk about a life beyond my wildest imagination. If I had made a list of all the things that I wanted for myself back, before I got sober, of what I would want out of my sobriety, I would have shortchanged myself. I would have thought that I could live the life that I'm living now back then. Never thought.
And it doesn't mean life is perfect for you.
Oh, no. I mean, I
still deal with a lot of crap.
I don't have bad days, anymore. As long as I'm not drinking or drugging, I have hard days.
Right.
I have easy days and I have hard days. When the day my daughter or my sister died, that was a hard day.
Right.
But I didn't drink. I didn't drug.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean, I just think, like how I used to wake up too. And like, I hated life. I hated waking up.
Yeah.
So like my first thing would be, either a line of Coke if I had Coke left over from the night before, or pop a pain pill or pop a Xanny or get a drink.
Yeah. And
you can't you're never in that calm, peaceful state of appreciation for life. You're always just like, let's get blurred as quickly as possible.
Oh, I had zero gratitude.
Yeah,
zero.
Me too. Zero gratitude.
Yeah. Not like today. Today I'm grateful for
no
so
appreciation for how precious this gift is.
Oh, exactly. Oh, I thank God every morning for waking up, and I pray that He keeps me sober, and then I turn my will and my life over to His care.
And this is coming from a dude who borderline either atheist or agnostic.
Yeah, definitely.
And so I have all these people just like, I just, I can't do the whole God thing. And it's just like, well, none of us could,
Right.
but
Very few of us could in the beginning.
right. But we open ourselves up when you surrender. Like I had Howie Ryan on the state trooper, who arrested me.
Yeah.
And he got diagnosed with cancer, and it was a life-threatening, diagnosis.
Right.
And he's like, and he was never a religious dude. And he's like, I just think every atheist who's out there has never had a life or death situation
Right,
yet.
had to face
because when you do, you're willing to do anything and everything to whoever to stay alive.
There you go.
And that's exactly where I got. Like, I said, I'm willing to do anything and everything to take my life in a new direction. And you got to that point. Howie got to that point. And this is from 3 dudes. And I'm saying this for the people who don't have faith.
Right.
This is 3 dudes who didn't have, it's not like we walked around with Bibles. We weren't even believers.
No, and my sponsor in the beginning told me that I was to hit my knees at night and thank God for keeping me sober that day, and hit my knees in the morning and pray for Him to keep me sober. And in the beginning, that was all I could do. I still do that to this day, but in the beginning, that was all I could do.
Right. You get on your knees to pray?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's how I pray.
Yeah.
It just humbles me.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Because I had no humility back in the day.
Correct. Right.
Absolutely not.
And it, like, so I'm seeing the same pattern over and over and over with my guests. So
Right.
Everybody's exercising, everybody's praying, and everybody says they're meditating. Like, and I'm hearing this over and over, and every single person's grateful, gratitude to be alive.
Got to have an attitude of gratitude, brother.
Yeah, and I'm hearing that over and over and over and over and over. So any other steps that you employ on a regular basis?
No, that's pretty much it. I other than those things that I do in the morning, and then I try and hit a meeting. I probably go to
How many meetings are you doing now?
4 or 5 a week. And I do a lot of speaking as well. I do a lot of speaking commitments. I started out
at meetings.
At meetings these days. These days it's at meetings. When I first started, it was all in correctional facilities.
Really?
For the first probably 4 years of me going out and speaking, I was always at correctional facilities because I could use as many curse words as I wanted, and I could talk about things other than alcohol, drugs, other than alcohol that I was using and abusing, and it wasn't an issue. Because some Alcoholics Anonymous, it's not as much as it used to be because there's so many, cross-addicted people these days. So, you tell your story in a meeting, and I still talk about, drugs other than alcohol. But back then, that was it. And it's funny, the first time I ever spoke at a meeting, someone had asked me, it was last minute, somebody dropped out of this meeting and they needed a speaker. And it was in Newton, right around the corner from where I could have walked to the meeting from my house. And so, I'm a little nervous because I'm thinking, every time I've ever shared, I'm dropping F-bombs like nobody's business. And, I'm talking about drugs other than alcohol. And so I'm kind of nervous about this whole thing to begin with. And I walk in the meeting, and who's leading the meeting but the father of my church? I'm thinking, oh man, but I did all right. I think I only dropped 3 F-bombs, and they didn't care whether I talked about drugs other than alcohol. So,
all right,
yeah.
I mean, so what you're doing by talking at meetings and going to correctional facilities is you're giving back.
Yes,
and you're helping the next person.
Exactly,
and that's another key that I'm hearing in every single person. Is they give back and they try to help the next person.
Well, my friend Tony likes to say it's one thing getting sober, it's a completely another thing staying sober. I got to do something. I got to do something every day on a daily basis, because you can make damn sure when I was out there, I was doing drugs and alcohol every day. So now
You had time for that.
Right now, if I want the kind of recovery that I want, I got to do something every day, to keep that recovery. And I got to give back. I got to do service. Service keeps me sober.
Yeah. Yeah, and I say the same thing. That's why I started this podcast. Like,
there you go. You got to get active. You got to do something.
I wanted to give a voice to people and to help the audience, hear how we've all overcome. And I'm hearing the same similar things in every person.
Because it works.
Yeah. Give back, pray, meditate, read positive affirmations, listen to positive podcasts, things that can help you.
Exactly.
And exercise, eat healthier, and over and over and over. Every person's doing that.
Because it works.
So there you go, people. That's how you do it.
That's how you do it. That's how you stay sober.
Thanks, bro. I appreciate you being here and sharing your journey with me and with the audience.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm so happy for you.
Thanks, pal.
All right, buddy.
All right. Thanks, man.
All right.
There you go, people. Another edition of the Free Like Me podcast. Brad, 2 liters of vodka a day. Come on now. How's he still alive? He surrendered. He let go of trying to do it himself. He surrendered. He got faith. He got clarity. He got appreciation for life back. If he can do it, if I can do it, if every other guest you're hearing can do it, you can do it too. We'll see you next week. Peace.